This is the Recovery Lab.
Here we dive deep into the struggles, victories, and hope that stem from recovery.
No shame, no judgment, just truth, grace, and inspiration.
Let's walk this road together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Recovery Lab. This is episode 111. I am Brynn Knox.
I'm David Sugg.
I'm Daniel Anderson.
And we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to do a little solo episode with just us and catching up. David's had some pretty cool experiences here lately that I just think would be really cool to talk about, because we talk so much about, our experience getting sober and the struggles with that, but we don't get to talk too much about what sober life, the cool things that can happen in sobriety. And you did something really cool lately, and I want to hear more about it.
Yeah, it's been a wild past month. Rachel and I went on an amazing vacation. We'd been planning on doing something like this for a couple of years, and we pulled the trigger on it. Went to Greece for almost 3 weeks. And I did a triathlon over there, something I got into about 2 years ago. Some buddies of mine were doing mountain bike racing and swimming and stuff, and they talked me into doing a triathlon. So I was like, I'm going to go to Greece and go do a triathlon over there. And then Rachel and I hopped on a boat, and we skipped along the coastline of Italy and Greece for about 2.5 weeks and just enjoyed ourselves. And, compared to where we came from, I won't get into Rachel's stuff, but y'all know my story. Most of you do. Is, 15 years ago, just getting out of the penitentiary and just beat up of a lifetime of just bottom dragging alcoholism, living on the streets, living in empty houses, just horrible stuff, jails, institutions, and near-death experiences. And then to have the opportunity to work my tail off, but then again, get some things that I never imagined. I mean, I didn't ever think we'd be doing this stuff.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got sober, year 2 or 3, my highest aspiration was just to be a restaurant manager.
Mm-hmm.
If I could just get the keys, if I could just get the key, and I got them, and it was take these keys back. It was horrible because I found out management in a restaurant's the worst position to be in, because you're hearing it from everybody. Mm-hmm. You get it from the owner, the customer, and all those ne'er-do-well employees. Nobody wants to, so you're just stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
Anyways, you fast forward 15 years, and my wife and I run a small business together. I've got a best friend. She's in sobriety. We get to share that. We get to travel. Unfortunately, we didn't. Kids weren't on the radar. We didn't have them. Didn't really think twice. Just kept moving, and it's worked out. But we get each other and get to have a lot of fun. And this was one of the things we did. And I don't know what you want. I mean, the trip was cool.
I want to talk about how you got into the whole triathlon thing. Have you always been athletic and been into all that kind of stuff, or? What's triathlons? It's biking, swimming,
swim,
and
bike,
running.
Run. They do the swim first, so you don't drown on the swim.
Ah.
And then normally a bike and a run. And they're all different. Everybody I tell I do a triathlon is oh, you did Ironman. You did Ironman. First of all, I don't even have the base level fitness to begin for a true 100, a true Ironman.
What's the difference? What's the Ironman?
There's a bunch of different variations of Ironman, but the traditional Ironman, when people are thinking about it, is a 2.4 mile swim. 2.4 mile swim. 100-mile bike ride, and a full marathon. So to do a real, and now they've got different levels of Ironmans. They got a Ironman 7.0, which is about 60% of all that stuff. So a mile and a half swim, maybe a 60-mile bike ride, 70-mile bike ride, and a 10-mile run, different stuff. But anyways, to do a full Ironman, you need to be doing endurance racing for years to even get base level fitness to be able to train for something like that. The ones that I'm doing are mountain biking, trail running, and swim. And the longest one I did was a mile swim, a 30K bike ride, which is about 18 miles, and I think it was an 18K run, which is about 10 miles.
Okay. Which one was the hardest?
I mean, this last event I just did one at Oak Mountain in Birmingham.
Uh-huh.
It was the national championship for Xterra, which is just off-road stuff, and it was brutal. It was. So 157 people started the swim. I came in 155th. I'm not kidding you. There was a lady in a red canoe, and I was like, why is she chasing me? Well, she was very concerned I wasn't going to make it. And she was trying to close down shop. And from hanging out in bars till last call, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been in that bar and like, come on, you can't go. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. It was the same thing. And I'm like, why is she on my tail, man? And I'm giving all I got. And the sad thing is I've been practicing swimming. I mean, when we went to, that was one of the reasons we did Greece is because I was like, I'm gonna be able to swim every day. We're going to go on an oceanfront, vacation. And I've really been working on it. And I'm telling you what, the level of these athletes, they're just good at it. They're just great. So anyways, I came in 155th in the swim. On the bike ride, I'm a lot better on the bike. I passed about 40 people on the bike ride. So out of 155 that finished the swim, I think I was last. I came in about 98th in the bike. And then on the run, I gave up a few spots. So I finished about middle of my age group.
Nice.
Had a good race, a good run, but it was incredibly hard. And then my buddy and I decided, for some crazy reason, since it was in Oak Mountain State Park, why don't we camp out before the race?
Why not?
Why not, right? Well, sleeping in a hammock the night before a race and then having a storm move in at 3:30 in the morning, hurricane force and wind. Yeah, my rain shelter flip-flopped down. I just crawl in the truck like Linus. I'm dragging my blanket to the truck, trying to get ready for this race. I mean, it was miserable. We did it, and like people said, "How'd you do?" I finished. And that's all I'm trying to do for these. I mean, there's some people that travel from all over the world to these races. There's a team from Italy. There's a team from France. There's people.
Oh, wow.
And they come all the way over here to compete in this very specific race. And I mean, they're doing half the time. I did mine in like 4 hours and 20 minutes. The elitist of the elite were doing it in sub 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're flying. They are bombing those tracks. They're swimming as fast as I can like do a brisk walk.
Yeah.
Like they're just getting it.
Yeah, but you finished.
I finished, and I got a mold. I got a medal that says finisher. It's like,
Yeah.
But yeah, just finishing one of those things is really cool. How I got into it, recovery. Was I super athletic? When I was using, the most athletic I was running from the police, and I could run. I could hop fences. I mean, I could have been something. I really could in the track and field, just running from police. But that was it. When I got sober, doing different things, I really like ultimate frisbee. Ultimate frisbee is like a soccer / football with frisbee. I started finding out that I'd really like to run and play and do different things, and I did that like year 3 to 8 of sobriety. Was playing a lot of ultimate, and then I got into hiking. Some friends of mine started doing some long like overnight backpacking trips. I started doing that and really really enjoyed that. And then just recently, about 3 years ago, somebody talked me into buying a mountain bike and getting into some of that stuff. There's a really cool club, Madison Ridgeland Bike Trails.
Yeah.
Got some really nice trails out there. And you can pay, $100 a year and be able to go out there, and whenever the weather's good, just go mountain bike riding. So, but that's been from hanging out with healthy people that want to do healthy things and not, trying to find a way to con and manipulate and to get high, but people are trying to fill their time with healthy activities. And it's just like some of the things I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
I've tried some stuff and I haven't really been into it. One of my friends was into skydiving, and I was like, for the dollar amount and the risk life value, like, no, thank you. But certain things I really have enjoyed. That's been cool.
That is cool. So the hiking part, I know this is so random, but like, is there anywhere like good to hike around? Like, what if someone wants to start hiking?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do they go here?
There's not a lot of trails that I would want to do overnights on, but just good day trails. There's some really good stuff. One of the easiest ones to get to is the Yakanukanani, and it's spelled like it sounds with a whole bunch of letters.
Mm-hmm.
But it runs parallel to the Natchez Trace, and it starts, I don't know, probably about 5 miles outside of town.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the paved trail, but it's going to be a very like a real hiking trail. And it runs for, I think, about 13, 14 miles of some easy stuff. And then there's some more of it that's not very well maintained, but you can get out there along the Natchez Trace, and there's a hiking trail that runs all the way from here almost to Tupelo of different stuff. Now, if there's been a storm, they might have trees across it, but that's a good place to get out there and just get outdoors, get you a pair of hiking shoes, see what feels good, see what fits. I do trail running out there. It's a great place for me to train for that. And then Madison Ridgeland trails, although they are biking trails, people go out there and run and walk. But just to get experience, like getting out in the roots and the sand and the mud and seeing what you like and what you don't like, those are two really great spots. Buddy Butts Park is right
Clinton?
Clinton, yeah. Well, it's Jackson. Jackson owns it.
Is it?
Clinton's been trying to buy it for years. Jackson won't come off of it. But there's probably 16 miles of trails out there. Now, those are all things that are within a 10-minute drive from the center of Jackson, 15-minute drive, that you can get outside and at least go on a 3-hour walk and see how you like it.
Did you just say 3 hour? No, really, 3 hours? Is that normal?
Yeah.
Okay, that's like a mini hike.
Get out. Yeah, if you're gonna do a 5 or 6 mile walk, I mean, you want to give yourself some time to not overdo it.
Yeah.
I mean, if Rachel and I go out walking, we're probably doing like about a 3 mile an hour pace, which is that's a stroll.
I thought you were going to say a 3-minute walk. I was like, me too. Okay, so that's what I do.
It does take time. It
Yeah.
does take time. There's no doubt about it. And time's a luxury to be able to have. That was one reason Rachel and I got into the real estate and started growing that business, because we didn't want to spend 50, 60 hours a week in an office.
I hear ya.
Just like, I would rather do different stuff. So
Yeah. How has the have you talked about Rachel's stuff that she does on here, like the recovery homes and stuff like that?
So we haven't. We came on. I can't remember what podcast you were producing, Dan, but you were producing a podcast at the time, and Rachel and I came on and kind of told our story, very general about what we were doing, what we were into.
I need to listen to that.
Who was that? No, it wasn't Ashley.
Was it Recovery Lab?
It was a really catchy name. Wasn't I can't remember.
I can't either.
See if you can find out.
But we came in as guests.
Was it Misguidance?
Misguidance.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you still doing that one?
No.
Okay.
We
Yeah. So Misguidance. What, Daniel? Tell us what was Misguidance.
So the Misguidance was it really just 3 people talking. It wasn't really about anything.
Mental health stuff, though. Maybe.
Yeah, a lot of mental health stuff, but really, I mean, the only reason that it kind of dissipated was just everybody's lives just got crazy. The two girls that were with us, I mean, their lives were just blowing up with incredible stuff, and we just didn't have the time or the bandwidth. But yeah, it was great. That was what it was.
So that was my first. When they invited us on the podcast, that's when we came in the studio and saw what Daniel had going on. It was like, wow, this is super cool. And then when the opportunity came up to be a part of Recovery Lab, it was like, yeah, I'd like to do that, because that podcast experience for me was a lot of fun.
Okay,
really
cool.
Yeah.
So for those that haven't heard that episode, can you give us like a little details about what you guys are doing in the Fondren area, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as the sober stuff goes, I mean, we run a sober living home company.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, I think, maybe 9 houses. We normally have about 6 to 8 beds per house. We cater primarily to people who are just getting out of treatment and are looking for a safe, affordable place to live that's near 12-step meetings, near jobs, near transportation. The Fondren area is perfect for that, because they've got bus routes. They've got 4 different clubhouses where AA meetings happen. You got St. James, Yana, 4801, just a lot of 12-step stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got work and community. So we like the Fondren area, and we're like, this is perfect for it. So we started doing that there. We really are kind of catering to kind of the avatar, the person that kind of I was and kind of that Rachel was when we didn't have huge familial support. We didn't have somebody saying, here's $2,000 a month to pay for a sober coach and to pay for sober living. We were like, we had to figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
And so we're catering to kind of that individual, that person who's coming out. They might only have $300 or $400 to get moved in somewhere. Well, in today's, you can't even pay a deposit, never mind move into an apartment. But we'll take somebody like that means well, that's trying to do the deal, that's coming out of treatment. Say, man, you got $300 you can rent for a week and find a job. And hopefully you can pay the $600 or $650, whatever it is, rent monthly, and that covers everything. We pay the bills, we give bedding, we give a drug test. We're doing a little bit of accountability with some peer support specialists. Not a tremendous amount, but we do some.
Mm-hmm.
And just really try to provide these people with a safe place to do it. And really, one of the reasons we got into it is because we were seeing so many people that were doing sober living. We were just hearing horror stories.
Yeah.
And nobody was really catering to women, because if I bumped into one of the girls in our sober living, I probably wouldn't recognize her. I do not interact with them at all. I don't talk to them. I don't deal with them, because there are so many guys with predators and weird stuff's happening. And so that we just we weren't seeing that get filled, primarily the women. Guys, I like working with guys and I want to help them out, but really the big need was for women. And so whenever I talked to Rachel about that, she's like, absolutely, let's do it. So we have a woman who's she was a trained therapist. She decided not to work in the field. She's a trained peer support specialist. She and Rachel run the whole thing on the women's side. And then Chris Graves and I pretty much run the men's. Actually, Chris does it. I mean, once more, I'm kind of out of it. I help find the properties, reposition and bring in financing, And that's about it. That's all I pretty much do with them. I'm not doing outreach. I'm not doing peer support stuff. I just don't do it.
Yeah.
No.
That's so cool. I'm glad that that area has you guys filling that need, because I know it is such a big deal. When I got out of the treatment center that I went to, that was like such a huge step for me, is that whole sober living experience. Because it's like, that's when, what do they say? It's when the rubber meets the road. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds right. Anyway, like, it was just like all those things that I learned in there. Like, I was in such a safe environment for so long in that treatment center. And so to come out of that into this home with other women, like, there had to be like so much accountability for me and like so much support. And it was one of those things where you had to, like, for real, like, surround yourself with the winners, like Christy was saying last week. And I think if I didn't have that, like, sober living experience, like, I don't know where I would be today.
Tell me about that house. What was that like?
It was us women, and it was the people that I went through treatment with. So I'd already developed, like, these bonds with these women, and not everyone, like, loved each other, but some of us did. Like, it is sort of like a high school vibe in treatment. You know what I mean? And like, one of the best things that I heard, this woman named Tracy Ogle, she said, the goal isn't to be the cool kid here. The goal is not to be the popular kid in treatment, like the cool guy. Like, that's not what matters here. So you don't need to be cool. You need to get this stuff, because this is your life. And so, like, when she put it that way, it felt, because everything's so magnified there. So if someone didn't like me, I felt it so hard. You know what I mean? And like, you feel so alone because these two girls over there were talking about me, you know, and like, it just, in the grand scheme of things, like, it just didn't matter. And so I needed that, like, reminder from Tracy that, like, who cares who's cool here? You know what I mean? Like, you're a bunch of addicts, like, trying to get your life together.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I had, you know, a bond with these women already, and we went through the same program. So it was like we learned the same thing the same way. Like, and that played a huge part in our sober living experience, because it's like we had the same tools and that accountability with each other. I remember the girl that was in charge of us at the house, her name was Meredith, and I loved her. She was one of my favorite RAs from treatment. And I was like, okay, well, we're close, so I might be able to get away with a couple things. And I remember one time, I think I was late or something like that, like 5 minutes or something. And so I got, you know, not grounded, but put on like probation or something like that. And so my curfew had to go to like 8:00 for the next, 3 days or something like that. And there was this one meeting I really wanted to go to. And so I was like, hey, Meredith, is it okay if I come home at, 8:15? Because I really want to go to this meeting. She's like, no. I'm like, but it's a meeting. You know what I mean? Like, how could you? Yeah. And she was just like, no, sorry, that's the rules. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So it's just like stuff like that where you're like, all right, I'm still trying to manipulate a little bit. I'm still trying to like play this victim role a little bit. Like, I don't know. It was like all those lessons we learned, we got to like implement them in a somewhat safe environment.
Yeah, we didn't have any personal boundaries. I mean, let me speak for myself. I had no personal boundaries. So like going to treatment and having like walls that like I couldn't penetrate, it was like, it was refreshing, but it pissed me the hell off, but it was exactly what I needed.
Yeah. Did you do, so what's the sober living environment with like the guys like that you've experienced?
So when I was probably 19 years old, I got sober for a period in Hattiesburg, and a group of friends and I started an Oxford House. And Oxford House is a national fraternity of sober living homes, operate all over the place. And you apply for a charter. If you get the charter, they help you rent a house. They help you get a house up and running. They supply you with bylaws. They supply you with a little bit of infrastructure to kind of, here's how you run a house, collect rent, pay utilities, clean, vet tenants, do that kind of thing. But it's a self-governed, the guys in the house run it. They just kind of use the Oxford House model. And the Oxford House is incredibly successful. They're all over the place. Jackson has got a number of them, both male and female. And I lived in one of those. And I was a charter member, and it was really, really fun. I stayed there for about a year and stayed completely sober. Then I moved out to Texas and relapsed because I kind of got away from my community. But it was a cool experience. So I had that. And then I came back to Hattiesburg about 3 years later and got sober again. And I moved back into that same Oxford House. And it was surrounded by community. It was really cool guys, and it was a lot of fun. But after that, I relapsed again. And that's when I went through that 10-year period of just living on the streets or in jails. And when I got out of the prison that last time, I did not go back to sober living. My sister gave me a place to stay, and Drew, who's the founder, co-host of Recovery Lab, they put me up. I don't think there were a lot of sober living options that I was really, really into or really even aware of at the time. That was 15 years ago. So I didn't do it this time, but I have lived in sober living houses, and there's been some really, really cool experiences. I've not had a bad experience in those 2 times. But what we were seeing here is that one, Oxford House for some reason decided to stop growing here. I'm not sure what their reason for it was, but they used to send an outreach worker into a community that would go out and they would start different houses, and it would kind of fill them. Whereas normally the Oxford House is like 3 or 4 guys just decide to get a house up and running.
Right.
But they came in here and were really proactive, and we're going to start up a couple of houses. And I don't know if they just, whenever they pulled that outreach worker out, if it just lost any kind of steam, but they stopped opening houses. And so we were seeing like there's more people trying to find sober living than there are the availability of homes. Another thing, I love Oxford House. I think it's really, really good. But they have a democratic position in it. That means everybody sits down once a week, they talk about things, and they vote on who gets to come in, who needs to leave, and that can go really, really well when everything's perfect. But it can go really, really bad when you start doing that high school vibe and people start getting voted off the island. So we were getting calls from ladies that were getting kicked out of an Oxford House because they just didn't jive with the in crew. And we were getting calls from guys who were getting kicked out of the house because they were saying, I'm trying to stay sober and these guys aren't, and they're kicking me out. And it was like, I don't know if what you're saying is true or not, but to hand a democratic idea to somebody who's 2 or 3 months sober, that's like letting the inmates run the asylum.
Right.
And so we don't do that. We listen, we take feedback, we try to be judicious, be wise, who should come in and who should leave. But we don't say, hey guys, y'all vote on it, because we know how catty they can be.
Yeah.
So those experiences, recognizing the need for it. Rachel lived in a sober living house when she got out of Harbor House. She saw some of those things and she was like, yeah, we can do this. We think we can do it, what the market wants. And so we went into it. Now, granted, Rachel and I have been doing all kinds of real estate stuff. This is just one fraction of it. I do flipping. We have HUD, lower income houses. Rachel's really a pro at the Fondren Furnished Rentals, which is Airbnb business. She's got 10 of those, which primarily caters to like traveling nurses and people coming into work for a little bit of time. So I say that to say that the recovery homes is kind of passion, it's kind of profit, but we got a lot of different stuff going on. And so we take those different management skills, those different things we've learned, and try to see if is there something we can do to make a product that the market wants. And we decided we could with the sober living.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
Just to backtrack just a little bit. So you had long stints in sober living houses twice, right? So after that third time, when you got out of jail, was there this mindset that like, look, I have enough experience, I know what I have to do in order to get and stay sober? Like, was there a, like, I don't have the money, or I don't have it's time to shit or get off the pot type of mentality? Like, look, I know what I need to do. I'm not going to, I don't have the opportunity to go into another sober living house, and I just have to do what I've been told and what I've learned what to do? Or was there, like, did you have the opportunity to go back into a sober living house and you chose not to? What was that fork in the road like for you?
That's a great question. And I think, something I don't think about that often, but the reality of alcoholism and drug addiction is we burn all of our bridges.
Yeah.
We take, I mean, who here has been to treatment multiple times? The first time I went to treatment, it was nice, man. We had fresh squeezed juices. Like the last time I went to treatment was not nice. I mean, it sucked. And there were times where I had resources and I had people that were rooting for me, and I could have gone to a decent sober living and found some, and I've done that. I'm sure my mom probably helped me to get into the Oxford House years ago, this time, the last resource I had were Christiana and Drew. That was it. Like nobody, like even my mom was just she got her black belt in Al-Anon.
Yeah.
And she was tough loving it up. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
you got to do something with yourself. And so it wasn't so much about like, could I, what do I need or what's in my heart? It was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing. And Drew was thankful. I mean, he was like, come on, we're going to go to a meeting every day. I mean, he got me the job at Walker's. He's pointed me in that direction. I knew how to cook. There's one thing I know how to do. It's sling hash. I mean, I can cook meat and sling hash. And he got me that job. And I mean, I was just grinding. I was just doing that thing. So there wasn't like let me see, pros, cons. What would be best for me to do?
Yeah.
It was just like they came and they picked me up that day, like, and they were the only ones in my life that were like, no, you're worth something. We're going to give you a shot. So, and that's why still, after everything Drew and I have been through, I've got a love deeper for him. I mean, like I'd do anything. I've kept up with him through the good, through the bad. I've been out to the house when y'all were getting nuts, when the Rankin County Panther was on the porch, like all the crazy stuff. Because, I mean, he did that for me when I was unlovable.
Yeah.
I had nothing. So it wasn't so much about what's good, what's bad. It was like last house on the block. This is it.
Yeah.
And it was hard. Christiana and Drew were trying to go through things. They were trying to build a life. And here I am, attitude and not wanting to do the deal and doing everything reluctantly or under half steam. And I wasn't just like, yeah, let's do this. I mean, it's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I did it. And they were really like their grace started when they brought me home, but I mean, it continued on. Like they were just gracious the whole time. So taught me a lot about what it means to be, grown up and to take care of people.
Yeah. You're absolutely a brother to Drew. Absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't be here without him.
Yeah.
And they say we owe a debt we can't repay, and that's what it means. Like, yeah, I owe it. I still owe it. I'm always going to owe it.
He loves you a great deal.
Oh, I love him. It's been cool to see his life unfold.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason he's not in this chair more often is he's got a bunch of stuff going on, man. The promises, you're talking about getting the license and practicing law again. He's already a killer assistant to the guy whose business he's taken over, and now that thing's just blowing up. He's got his kids. Everybody's doing sports. Father again. The home. He lost both of his parents in a short amount of time, and having to be independent and like don't even have them to call. I mean, it's all this stuff happens, and some of it's good, and some of it's kind of tug at your heartstrings. But it's what it is.
Yep.
He's doing it.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like thinking about how. Or I don't like thinking about it. I think about how many people probably like looked at you back then and described you as hopeless. You know what I mean? And like just a lost cause. And that's like the crazy good thing about this program and like the miracles that can happen and it just takes like the darkest life and just completely turn it around. Like you didn't just like get sober, like you're like living life. Dude, you went to Greece for 3 weeks. Like, do you know how hard it was for me to look at those pictures while I'm over there in Rankin County, just like looking out my window, like this isn't where I'm supposed to be. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And it just looks so pretty. Tell me more about like where'd y'all eat? What'd you do?
The food was amazing. In fact, that was one of the coolest parts of it. Is every time we got done eating an amazing meal, we were just like, we get to check. It was like, I can't believe it was so cheap. Like, because we've traveled a good bit in other places, especially when you're in a tourist place, everything's just double, and you're always like, they just hit the American button on me, like just double everything. But every time in Greece when we were checking out, it was like it was just that's affordable. And this was because we were kind of on a travel. This is the tourist spot. So I was thinking if we were someplace inland or some other place, it'd probably be even cheaper. So that was a cool thing about Greece is everything was super affordable. But the food itself was just, I don't know. I think the climate there, I think they just grow stuff year round.
Yeah.
I mean, just everything was just super fresh, just super good. The people were, I wouldn't say the people were just super friendly. They were friendlier than the French. The French don't care. The French they don't want to have anything to do with us. They won't even like.
Why are they so mean?
I don't know. They invented democracy. They invented the menage a trois. They have all that stuff. I don't know why they don't want to have anything to do with us. The Greeks, they were friendly. They were trying to do business with us. They were trying to help us spend money. They'd explain things on the menu, and it was good. It was a lot of fun.
Did you as far as like your like daily practices of things that you do for your recovery, like are you able to like stick with those when you're traveling?
Absolutely not.
No,
I don't. I do some of it. I mean, jet lag and new experiences and trying to keep up with Rachel and trying to, traveling with somebody takes a lot of like maturity and responsibility to kind of read off them. How is she feeling? Is she into it today? Does she need a break? How am I feeling? Am I into it? And both of us kind of trying to recognize boundaries. And so as far as like, when we're home, we're up at 6 o'clock. I'm praying, I'm meditating, journaling. She's praying, she's doing her thing. And it's just really easy to maintain. I mean, like the coffee pot goes off, I do my 24-hour meditation and I sit here. But when you're on the road, I mean, it's just like, it's really, really difficult. So there was a meeting on the boat that was supposed to be for Bill and them. But
really?
It was supposed to be. And it didn't advertise that they were going to be. Well, the first night I walk up to where it's going to be and some lady comes walking in with like a giant beer stein. I'm the only person in there. And I'm like, well, I mean, I've been in meetings where people are drunk before. I mean, I'm willing, but I sit there and I'm like, I've got my big book sitting there with me and I'm like, kind of like waving it, like kind of, here it is. And she just looked at me and walked out. I was like, she was not looking for a meeting. But I was the only person that showed up and so it didn't happen, So if I had like hung my hat on, like had all these hopes, like I'm going to get to go to a meeting every day because I advertised, like just didn't happen.
Yeah.
We traveled. I think it was probably about 5 years ago. We went and did 2 weeks in Ireland and we hopped on a bus and just drove all over the island. We saw just about every different county. We spent time in every different city, Belfast, Dublin, County Cork, saw all the stuff. And we tried to catch some AA meetings. And that was an opportunity to like, you end up in Dublin, there's 20 meetings a day. We found 2 or 3 of them there and we had some great experiences. When I walk into a meeting 10 minutes early, I'm like, what can I do to help? And like, set up chairs and chair the meeting. It was like, wait a minute. It's like, but because I do it here and I've done it 100 times in a quarter or whatever, it's like, all right, let's do it. And so getting to have that experience, I've done it, but it's more about kind of what's the universe offering than me having like a rigid, I've got to do this.
Yeah.
So,
what was your topic for that meeting?
Dude, it was actually step 11. So they had a topic. They're like, you're going to do step 11 and do a 15-minute lead on it. And I'm just like, who talks about meditation, period, and does it for 15 minutes? So anyways, I talked. It was a good meeting. Their format's a little different. It's always like somebody opens the meeting, somebody gives a lead, they do open conversation, and then, but it was cool, man. We went to some little seaside village. I don't know if it maybe Newcastle or something. And we went to a meeting, and this time we were able to just be quiet participants. But it was their level of commitment of like thumping the big book and talking about like the real principles, not just some wah-wah, off the wall kind of stuff. Like their level of how they worked the steps and how they talked about it was just amazing. I mean, They were some real alcoholics that were trying to get sober and practice the principles doing it. And it wasn't mixed like, hey, no drug talk. It wasn't an NA meeting where just using AA as a place to do it. I mean, it was like real deal alcohol. It was probably one of the coolest and wholest like AA meetings I've been to in a long, long time because they were just serious alcoholics that had found a way to get sober. There's probably about 100 of them in this meeting, and they were asking us, what do we do? Do we have sponsors? Are we working the steps? Kind of vetting us, like really, are y'all about it? It's like, yeah, we are. And it was really refreshing to see somebody like of that caliber, that group, all that serious about it.
Yeah.
And after the meeting, there were like there were just groups of people just like partnered up and they were getting in the book and they were talking about stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just that vibe where it's like, wow, y'all are doing it. Not just everybody gone.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. I went to AA Unlimited this past week, like, cause we talked about it with Christy. So I went there. I didn't love my seat. It was pretty full in there. And I like sitting in a seat where I can just like see everyone else.
Was it knee to knee?
It was knee to knee.
I don't know. What is up with that?
I don't know. But I didn't like the seat, but I liked the meeting. I liked the topic and I liked the people. So it was good. But I'm glad I went to that one. Gage is out of town this weekend. He's helping his mom in South Carolina. So it's just me and the kids this weekend. And right before we came here, this is so random. Sorry. I just want to talk about me now.
Here for it.
Right before we came here, like we left church and went to Cazadores to eat real quick. And y'all, if you could have seen like the scene at my table, like me going to eat with my children without my husband there, like at the end of the meal, Dylan's sitting next to me in the high chair. Jackson Briggs are across from me. And Dylan somehow reaches over. She spills the sweet tea cup everywhere. And so there's sweet tea just dripping off the table this way, this way, this way. It's getting on her. All of a sudden she's screaming because she's got this cold, ice cold liquid all over her. And then I have Jack standing behind her now, and he's laughing. I'm like, will you stop it? And then Briggs, I look over at Briggs. He's got his entire hand in the queso. And he's just pulling it up like this, and he's going, and like, I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like trying to remember the song I just sang at church and like, like trying to like act like a normal person. But then like, we finally like get out of there. The poor like servers are just like mopping stuff up, and there's just queso everywhere. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And but like stuff like that, like I leave there, and I still like I love being with my kids and with my family, and like even in moments like that where I'm just like so frustrated. But I just like this week in particular, I've just had this like overwhelming like gratitude for the health of my family. Me and Gage have these couple friends. It's like our only like couple friend, you know what I mean? And they've just had such like a big impact on my life for a long time. My friend, she just like never judged me for like anything that I have gone through. She was Jack's soccer coach when he was a little kid. And she's just always made me feel like I belong. And anyways, she's sorry, it's like hard to talk about. Like she wrote me when I was in treatment, and then I found out afterwards, like she prayed for me at like 1 o'clock every day. And it is just super important in my life. And she found out last week that her husband has a brain tumor, and watching these people that like I so intensely like care about so much, like go through something. It's just like I've never like experienced this before in sobriety. I mean, I watched my dad die, and I've had a lot of people I know die from overdoses and stuff like that, but I've never met anyone like this couple. And it's just been like it's been such a heavy week. But the way they're like dealing with it is something like I can't even, you know how like some people that are very Christian will go through like the hardest stuff, and they're almost like unrelatable because of how like God's got this, you know what I mean? Like, and I know that it's true, like God's got this, but they're so full of that where you're like, but aren't you just like so upset? Like something, you know? And the way that they're dealing with it is very like, they're like, this sucks. Like this sucks so much. And she said like, I've never felt such like indescribable pain, but also like this indescribable peace at the same time. And I don't know, they're just having a really big impact on me this week. And it's nice. It makes me think about the way I dealt with things before I got sober and the way I deal with them now. Like before I got sober, I would have somehow like made this whole situation about me. You know what I mean? Like it would have all of a sudden become like my trauma or something, you know, I was so good at that. But being able to just like be back here and like support these people that I care about so much and like be inspired by them. I don't know. It's just like, it's been a week, man. And it's been like a heartbreaking week. And I don't know. So that's been what I've been doing this past week. It's just that heaviness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the good thing about getting sober and getting in recovery is all the feelings come back. The bad thing about getting sober and getting in recovery is all those feelings come back. The ability to feel and to be aware of what's going on. I remember I had a sponsor one year tell me about he called the 3 C's, or consideration, care, and compassion. you know, and when I was using, I never even considered anybody else. Like if I heard a story like that, I'd just be like, whatever. I mean, just gulp, gulp, gulp.
Right.
I wouldn't even think about it. If something, I mean, I remember when, for instance, like September 11th happened, you know, I mean, everybody knows they were September 11th.
Yeah.
It's like a big deal. Well, I'm working on wastewater construction, sneaking beers, like getting smashed. And that horrible, like the most horrible, powerful event of my lifetime happens. And I'm just like, that sucks, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy. That's like the JFK moment for everybody. And I'm just like, whatever. Whereas now, like, fast forward, you know, what was that, 25 years ago? You fast forward and we hear about these these ice skaters that are flying home from an event and a Black Hawk smacks them. It's basically the same. You know, it's a horrible thing happened over DC. And I'm like, I'm watching it. I'm like crying. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting in a Mexican restaurant one day and I see they're doing a skate off. They're doing a tribute concert.
Yeah.
For this. I'm just like, same thing. I'm just like, oh my, how you deal with that? Like I never even cared before. And now I'm thinking about this like 16-year-old kid and has brightest future in front of him and seeing him go through it. So that's difficult, is figuring out how do I go through these things, having these feelings and being tapped into humanity. Because before I wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't care anything about anybody. I didn't have the capacity. I didn't have the ability. It was just, how am I going to catch a buzz today? And if you were in the middle of that, that's the only reason I even thought about you. It's like, you stopping me from doing what I want to be doing? Otherwise, are you helping me? That's it. Very binary. And then now to have personal relationships, but not even just being aware of what's happening in the world. I mean, I still can't watch an ASPCA commercial about feed the pets.
No, immediately go, no.
Is that the Sarah McLachlan ones?
In the eyes of
It's too much.
You can't do it.
Yeah, it's weird to care.
It is
Care
weird.
so much.
It is weird. And what you're going through with your friend, I mean, it's a blessing, and but it's also, it's really heavy. It is really heavy.
It's so heavy. It's one of the heaviest things ever. And, but their like testimony is having such a big impact on not only me and my husband, but like everyone that is around. He actually does ultras.
Okay.
And those of you that don't know, that's like the 100-mile races. And it just has always blown my mind. And my friends, his wife is just like, I don't know why he does it. I think it's stupid. You know, like it's just crazy. Who wants to run 100 miles?
Yeah.
And so that was his big thing. And so, yeah, just really cool people going through really hard things. But at the same time, like ever since I've known them, they're the type of Christians that made me want to be a Christian. And even though this really hard thing is happening, they're still continuing to have that sort of presence. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know.
They sound real.
They're so real.
It's kind of their Job moment, you know, like everything's bad happening, but still willing to please and love the Lord as best they can instead of turning away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just knowing like this life isn't like our end goal. You know what I mean? Like it's like this is what happens before we get to the real thing.
Yeah.
You know? Sorry, I'm getting all preachy.
No,
No,
I mean,
you're
we've got to find things, because otherwise, for me, it's just about selfishness. What do I want? What am I going to get? I've lived that way out of sobriety, and I've lived that way in sobriety, and it's a miserable way to live.
Yeah.
Am I going to get everything that I want? What have I got to do? Because right then I get into that con manipulation, the comparison, the envy. It's like I can't go anywhere without getting upset.
Yeah.
Whereas if I look at like, no, I'm a work in progress. Today is the day. This is life. Like, I don't know what's happening tomorrow, and yesterday doesn't matter. God's made me for a reason. My job is to find that reason and go do it and try to enjoy the day. That's when I can at least be open to peace, you know, or be able to deal with conflict or issues. But I've been that way in sobriety, where it's just like, gimme, gimme, gimme. And it's miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable.
Yep.
Why can't I have this? Why isn't this working out? It's a terrible way to live. And especially when you've got a legit reason for being that. Your husband's got a brain tumor. Like, there's nothing wrong with pleading and bargaining with God, something like that. At the same time, it's a tough thing if we take it too far and start demanding. And why me? Why me? Why not me? I'll tell you what, man, in sobriety, I've had a lot of friends pass from cancer. I was actually in the room when one of them passed, and Rachel and I were very involved with his the last year of his life. We were there, 2 or 3 times a week. We were there when he died. She wasn't there when he died. I was there when he died. And it was really, really tough to see somebody that you cared for that much.
Billy?
It was Billy Roberts.
Okay.
Billy Wynn passed. I wasn't that close to Billy at the time. But Billy Roberts was a close friend of mine. He lived with me. He was a roommate of mine. And anywho, super tough. And to see somebody, though, that ended well, that ended trusting God, clean house, and helping others, even when they could have just been like, give me all the fentanyl and get out.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done that. I remember I wasn't there with Billy Wynn, but there's the story of him like only taking the cough syrup as prescribed. Here he is. He can't hold a breath in. I mean, he's just dying. He's got stage 4. It's all over his body. And he's still like, I'm using this stuff as prescribed. Like, even like whether it even mattered at that point, it mattered to him. And to see people go through that kind of stuff is like, dude, I'm upset that my car tag went up.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
It really just makes you just feel like an insolent child.
Yeah.
So
Kind of puts everything in perspective for
so
sure.
to see what your friend's going through, to see what our friends have gone through, it's like, yeah, put this thing in perspective and be like, wow, they're handling, they're still trusting God, they're still helping others, they're still doing the deal with the most horrific thing I can ever imagine. Am I really going to complain about kids handing queso? It's like, let's celebrate it. Like, this is awesome. Like, let's have fun with this.
Sling that queso,
yeah.
Grace.
Yeah.
See if you can hit that table.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good life we got going here.
The perspective definitely changes. I mean, it was first just survival and what have I got to get through the day,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's a wake up and like, all right, what's God got in front of me today?
Yeah.
What's happening? What do I need to
Ooh, that reminds me of one thing I did here at the AA Unlimited group with the you know how like you'll hear stuff all the time and it's like a very common sense thing, but for some reason it just means everything to you that day. It was talking about being present in that day and not thinking about yesterday, not thinking about tomorrow, because like that's how we got sober, you know what I mean? And that's how we stay sober, is one day at a time. And I don't know when I started living so much in yesterday and so much in tomorrow, but it happened like a while back, and it is just not like a good, like I've missed so many moments in the present, and like I'll find myself, I know when I'm doing that because I'll wake up in the morning and my first thought of the morning is like, all right, let's get through this day. And like, that's not why I got sober, like to live like that. But I don't know if it's because of like my depression, that's like sort of like my baseline of like, all right, let's get through today. But that had been going on for a little while. And when I heard that, I was like, man, I have not lived one day at a time in a little bit. And I started doing it ever since, what was that, Thursday. So the past few days I've been doing it, and it makes such a difference. Like, it makes such a difference. I have so much more like energy. I want to like do more things, because my mind will go from like, all right, well, if I do all this and this and this today, then I'm gonna be really tired tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Tomorrow
Like,
up. Yeah. I don't want to overdo it.
Yeah. Exactly. That's like my thing in life. I don't want to overdo it.
Yeah.
Except for dessert. And I just
right there with you.
Yeah. So it's been, I don't know. I'm just super glad I went and heard that,
Yeah.
because it's made a big difference in my week.
I think what happens to every parent naturally, and since we didn't have kids, I had to figure out a different way, but it's bringing the energy to live for somebody else. And I know you're doing that with your kids. I mean, your kids are what you're doing everything for. You're trying to provide a good lifestyle for them. They can go do the things they want to do, take them out to get Mexican when you've got the house to yourself. And you just do it because you're a mom, you do it naturally. But I had to figure that out. And so that's what, for Rachel and I, it's been like, I need to be nice to her. Like, she has a human experience happening too. And I need to make that as pleasant as possible, or not be in it. I don't want to make her miserable just with my attitude or whatever. And that's been one of my biggest problems, is like not recognizing like everybody's living their own story too. Like, let me be a decent supporting character rather than just like the tyrant. Oh, I need this. I want that. This isn't happening fast enough. Because in sobriety, I've done a lot of that, and it just makes people miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people with kids do that naturally, but I've had to grow into that slowly with my marriage, and then with my sisters and my other members of my family, to recognize like, whoa, I might be here. I'm a supporting role in their story rather than you're the center of the freaking universe.
Yes.
So that's been one of the coolest things about my recovery is like I could just be just a supporting character to some of these people instead of the dude.
That's a cool way to think about it. And other people, like a supporting character in other people's stories.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
y'all been some cool characters to get to know. I'm super pumped that we've been able to do this, and I think we're going to do more of these. Just kind of wrapping within the studio.
Yeah, I love it.
It's happening. We're also looking for guests. We have a difficult time scheduling guests, I think is fair to say. So we need more guests that we'd like to have that have flexible schedules. If y'all want to come on, you got a story to tell, you got experience, you can reach out to us. Danny, what's our contact? What's the best way to do it?
You can call or text me at 601-672-6591, and we can work a little bit of magic with the scheduling.
Yep.
So if you can't be here on Sunday at 12 p.m., we can work with you on that and get you in on a different day. So
we got a lot of people that want to come on, and we want to have you on. It's just a matter of everybody's schedule working out. You make some big sacrifices to come. I mean, you do. You're working. You're full time.
We really appreciate that.
Really do. Really do.
it's definitely a pay it forward type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But we do have a couple of really exciting guests coming in the next couple weeks that
You
I'm
want to
excited
you want to
about.
name drop some of them?
One of them that I have coming on, that we have coming on, is a therapist, and we're going to talk about like the effect that online like pornography is having on our teenage boys in particular, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to talking about, and I think a lot of moms and dads will get a lot of out of that episode. So we'll have Raymond here on the 8th. And then who do we have coming up?
Aaron from, is it what CrossFit?
It's the Clinton. Gosh, if you wouldn't have put me on the spot, I would be able to tell you.
It's got a catchy name. It's not recovery, is it?
Comeback. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
I want to get. She's coming on next Sunday.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if I could get out there and get a workout in with her before.
I bet you could.
Yeah.
You do that and tell me how it goes. I'll be on my 3-minute walk.
Yeah. So those are some two cool guests we got coming on. And then Sam Creekmore, we have not booked him, but he's going to come on and talk about the legislation that he's trying to get approved for some different alternative treatments to alcohol and drug addiction, which is super cool to see that happening in Mississippi.
Right.
And to have a state representative come on and talk about what he's trying to do for the general public to help them recover from alcoholism and drug addiction is huge. I mean, that'd be a great interview. I'm super pumped about that.
Yeah.
But we still want to hear from our homies. We still want to hear the stories, that offer experience, strength, and hope about what it's like for people really getting sober. So if you got a story, you feel comfortable coming on, you want to do it, please reach out to us. We'll be flexible in the schedule, and let's have you on.
And also, if you really want to join and you're doing some really big things in sobriety in the world of recovery, you don't have to be here. We can bring you into the studio from literally anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So just if you want to join us, reach out. Again, you can call or text me at 601-672-6591, or you can DM Brynn or Dave, myself, and we'll get you set up there.
It's awesome.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you next week with Aaron. And until then, what's our awesome catchphrase?
Don't drink.
Don't drink. Yeah. All right. There we go.